Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Yes, we start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Yes, the lead story, 2023, why runoff is increasingly likely. I will come back to this story. We will discuss it extensively, looking at the breakdown there. But let's just look at what other newspapers are reporting on their front pages. The Guardian newspaper, 2023 is frustrations as Nigerians queue for PVCs. INEC upbeat on exercise. Voters demand improved modalities. Residents disagree over allegations of sharp practices. Yes, Nigerians who are yet to collect their PVCs are doing so, but some are having a logistics problem. INEC announced a couple of days ago that at the local government headquarters, you can collect your PVCs, but soon they'll be taking these PVCs to the various wards for Nigerians who have their PVC still in the INEC custody to collect theirs. Now, the Nation newspaper, disquiet in PDP over Wike's Makinde's others trip to UK. G5 governors on retreat to decide on preferred presidential candidate. Yes, we've been hearing different angles to what the G5 governors want to do. They've gone to London. Again, it's cold in London. Of course, there's Harmattan in Nigeria. I don't know why the choice of London. But according to the Nation newspaper, there is disquiet in the PDP over that meeting. Of course, the Nation's interpretation that when the G5 governors sneeze, there's cold in the PDP. But clearly, everybody in the PDP should be worried about these governors. Will they work with Atiku eventually? I think that's where they're all looking at. But the Nigerian Tribune is reporting PDP Guzo wades in as G5 meets in London. Yes, General Guzo, one of those but usually referred to as owners of Nigeria. But it's wading into this matter. But we can tell you for certain that the next election will be decided by Nigerians, whether the owners of Nigeria, the so-called owners of Nigeria, like it or not. The next president will be decided by Nigerians with the improved electoral process. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, 2023 APC campaign running on empty tank of promises. Kuka says political parties not qualified to be called parties. Clarice utterances ungodly APC. Jonathan's men begin mobilization for Tinubu. Lagos ex-governor has been friendly to Igbo. Others in Lagos, Bajabia Miller is saying. Yes, of course, the statement by Reverend Kuka, Bishop Kuka being quoted there. I think he made a statement here on Arise TV yesterday morning. Of course, if you made promises in 2015 as a party, reinforce those promises ahead of the 2019 election, and you have not kept those promises, it will, of course, be remembered when that same party is asking for Nigerian vote, whether President Buhari is running or not. Of course, the candidate of the APC is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Daily Sun newspaper, outrage, fury over Lagos lawyer's murder by police. Killer won't go unpunished. Sanwo-Olu, NBA CSOs demand justice. IGP apologizes. Others probe. One death too many from policemen. A policeman, clearly, Ruben, I agree with you. These policemen, we should take them to the Yaba Psychiatric Center. Oh, there's one in Abeokuta, Ruben. You take them there. Arrow. Yeah, they should be checked. How do you just open fire on a car? What do you want to achieve? To stop the car with your bullets? Okay. Well, we just hope this time around. And quickly too, this policeman or men involved in this act will be quickly tried and let them face the music. Because this is not something that should drag for too long. The woman is dead, unborn child, gone, family in grief. Nigerians are angry. The government should do the needful. Now, the Punch newspaper, CBN monitors 6,047 BVN over suspected fraudulent transaction. Central Bank examines 28 bank customers' operations, 17.89 million bank accounts not linked with BVN, 144 properties forfeited by fraudsters, looters for auction. Yes. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, scarcity, NNPC sells petrol for 148 naira. Private depots sell for 215 naira. Ipman begins lifting from NNPC January 2023. Transporters hike fares, commuters stranded. NMDPRA not monitoring compliance. Stakeholders harp on PIA implementation. NNPC before the Yuletide period, they were shouting, including the group managing director, the CEO of NNPCL. Oh, we have enough fuel. We have enough petrol. As usual.
1 billion. 1 billion liters in our
so
reserve.
much that, this scarcity is artificial. It's a Papa Road gridlock. In a few weeks, everything will die down. Here we are. I'm looking for fuel in Arufai. I came to the office with my last, it's like the last tank going into reserve, but somehow we have to keep on moving, Ruben. Now,
the show must go on.
Yeah, the show must go on. But NNPC, this is a national disgrace. We spend so much money to subsidize, yet we cannot see the fuel to buy. So whatever is causing this problem.
I thought the DSS gave 48-hour ultimatum.
I don't.
The temporary review
yes.
after that.
Well,
and then
let's leave that. You know, I was asking the other day, what is the business of DSS in distribution of fuel?
I thought they said they will review saboteurs.
Let's just go on with the newspaper review. Daily Trust, unpaid tax. Bandits kill 4, abduct over 100 farmers in Niger. 4 village heads in captivity, 1 killed. We are making efforts to rescue them. Police, crops spoiling in our farms. Military blames informants for attack. Kidnappers killed 3 siblings, motorcyclists after collecting 60 million naira in Taraba. Now, insecurity, when we talk about insecurity, still widespread in the country, we are reminded that in 2015, X number of local governments in Borno, in Yobe, in Adamawa were under terrorist control. But now, everywhere, farmers cannot, because bandits are in control and they want them to pay tax before they can harvest their crops. It happened in Katsina the other time when 34 workers were abducted after the owner of that farm paid them part of what they asked for, saying that when I sell my crops, I will pay the balance. They abducted those people. Now this is happening in Niger State, and the country is certainly
that's why
not
we're having
secure.
Food inflation. You can
of course,
see. That's why
we're having
food
food inflation, because many farmers, they planted, they cannot harvest, and even when they can harvest, they have to pay taxes to bandits who control this space. Now let's come back. Okay, yes, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times of London: middle-class couples face £40,000 hit to incomes. Hunt accused of shameful raid on working families. Of course, middle-class families will be hit with up to £40,000, and they will worse off over the next decade as a result of the Jeremy Hunt's steel taxes, which has put in place the Chancellor to reduce government borrowing. Of course, somebody has to pay somewhere, and the middle-class families are the ones who will be taking that hit over the next decade. But again, I'm sure the people will continue to raise their voice. The Wall Street Journal reporting China to open borders as COVID cases rise. Of course, Beijing planning to reopen its borders in the new year, of course, to drop the quarantine rule for incoming visitors. At a time, the coronavirus infection is spreading in China. Is China coming to terms with realities? Too late. At a time, the COVID is still rising. Ruben will now look at the reports, the front page of this day. 2023, why runoff is likely. Of course, we'll go through the states one by one. But just before that, we look at how this report has been put together by this day election center. Of course, this latest development, what we have there, is a result of recent this day poll, The Explainer, released by this day 2023 Election Center, where a breakdown of the new realities is advanced with implications for each candidate. Yes, some of the factors responsible for what this day Explainer came up with is, of course, the candidates in each of their presence in each of the states, their structures and support-based capacity to mobilize, the contents of their respective manifestos, of course, ethnic sentiments playing a role in Nigerian politics, and 2023 general election will not be different. The popularity of the candidates and their name recognition. Of course, there are some candidates you mentioned in some localities. The voters will not have heard of such names. Of course, there are some, either over time, their presence in politics, their participation in presidential elections, and they are well known. Of course, you cannot rule out the financial war chest of each candidate. It will play a role, and of course, in the days ahead as they mobilize, 8 weeks is the time, money will play a role. No wonder the politicians were fighting against the restriction on the limits to withdrawal. And of course, CBN had to change its stance. Now, we look at the states. Let's go state by state. North Central, Plateau State there. The performance expected, Tinubu likely to pull 20%, Atiku 35%, Obi 35%, Kwankwanso 5%, and of course, others. Talking about other candidates and undecided voters, 5%. Benue, 20% for Tinubu, 25% for Atiku, 30% for Peter Obi. Yes, Peter Obi seemed to have colonized, if I just use that advisedly, the Benue, because it's repeated visit to there. He seemed to have touched the heart of the people to the extent that the governor himself, tacitly is rooting for Obi. And he said that if I was not a member of the PDP, I should be campaigning for you. Whether he will still do that behind the scene, left to be seen. Now, the Kogi in Niger, Nasarawa State, 30%, Tinubu will pull 30% of the vote, 25% Atiku, 25% Obi, 10% Kwankwanso, of course, 10% undecided, and others will be struggling for that. Niger State, Tinubu 35%, Atiku 35%, Obi 10%, and Kwankwanso 10%, others undecided 10%, Kogi 35% Tinubu, 35% Atiku, and of course Obi 15%. While Kwankwanso will pull 5% of the Kogi vote, 10% will be pulled by others, and of course, undecided voters fall under that 10% there. Now, looking at the northeast. Let's look at northeast first. Now, Tinubu in Borno will pull 40%, Atiku 35%, Obi well unrepresented there, Kwankwanso 20%, and others 5%. Yobe 40%, Tinubu 30%, Atiku, Kwankwanso 15%, Obi unrepresented there, 15% undecided, others. Taraba 10% for Tinubu, 40% for Atiku, Obi 20%, Kwankwanso 20%, 10% undecided. Gombe State, 20% for Tinubu, not, of course, Atiku, 40% from Gombe, 15% for Obi, 5% Kwankwanso, 20%, of course, undecided, 10% undecided. Others, Bauchi, 20% for Tinubu, Atiku, 40%, Obi, 5%, Kwankwanso, 15%, 20% undecided. Others in, of course, Bauchi. Now, the Northwest. After the Northwest, I'll come to you before we look at the Southeast, and Southwest. Now, the Northwest, which is the real battleground, because 22 million votes up for grabs in the Northwest, the largest single zone in the country. Now, for Kano, Tinubu will poll 30%, Atiku 20%, Obi 5%, Kwankwanso 40% of the Kano votes, 5% undecided. Others, Kaduna, Tinubu 30%, Atiku 25%, Obi 20%, Kwankwanso 20%. Yes, undecided 5%. Kaduna will be a real battleground as the candidates just for votes there. Katsina, the home state of President Muhammadu Buhari, who will be described on election day as the outgoing president. Yes, Tinubu, 30% Katsina votes. Atiku, 35% of Katsina votes. Obi not represented there. Kwankwanso, 30%, of course, 5% undecided. Jigawa, 25%. Tinubu, 35%. Atiku, Obi not represented there. Kwankwanso, 25% of Jigawa votes. 15% undecided, and of course others. Don't be surprised that Obi can still pick some votes from that 15% undecided. Others. Sokoto, 35% Tinubu. Atiku, 40% of Sokoto votes. Kwankwanso, 15%. Obi not represented there. Of course, 10% undecided. Others. Kebbi State, 35% Tinubu, 35% Atiku, and of course Kwankwanso 20%, 10% undecided. Zamfara, now 35% Tinubu, 35% Atiku, and of course Kwankwanso 20%, Obi not represented, 10% others, and of course undecided. Talking about the North votes, North Central, Northeast, and the Northwest. Ruben Rufai, I want to get your comment on that before we look at it.
Finish.
You want to
cover the entire country.
Okay, the entire country. Okay, now let's look at the Southwest. Let's start with the Southwest. Yes, Tinubu in Lagos will poll 45% of the votes. Atiku, 20%. Peter Obi, 20%. Kwankwanso, 5%. Undecided others, 10%. Ogun, Tinubu, 45%. Atiku, 20%. Obi, 5%. Kwankwanso, 15% of Ogun votes. And of course, 15% of Ogun votes. Undecided others, candidates likely to pick from that 15%. Ondo, yes, Tinubu 45%, Atiku 20%, Obi 10%, and of course Kwankwanso 10%, 15% of Ondo votes undecided and will be picked by other candidates. Ekiti, Tinubu 45%, Atiku 20%, Obi 15%, and of course 20% of Ekiti votes still in the realm of undecided votes, and other candidates will pick from that 15%. Osun, yes, Tinubu 35%, Atiku 35%, Obi 5%, Kwankwanso 5%, 20% of Osun votes in the realm of undecided. Of course, Other candidates will pick from that 20% also in that column. Now, the South Delta State, Tinubu 15%, Atiku 40%, Obi 35%, Kwankwanso represented, others undecided 10%, that's Delta. Now, Edo votes, 15% of that vote will go to Tinubu, and 35% Atiku, 35% Obi, Kwankwanso unrepresented in Edo, 15% undecided, going as well as votes to be picked by other candidates. Akwa Ibom, Tinubu 15%, Atiku 40%, Obi 30%, Kwankwanso unrepresented, and of course 10%, 15% undecided. While in Bayelsa, yes, 20% of the votes will go to Tinubu, 40% of the votes will go to Atiku, 30% to Peter Obi, of course 10% of Bayelsa votes undecided, and other candidates picking from that 10%. Cross River State, 25% of the votes will go to Tinubu, 40% to Atiku, and of course, Cross River, Cross River, and I take that again. 25% of the votes to Tinubu, 20% to Atiku, 35% of Cross River votes going to Peter Obi, of course, Kwankwanso unrepresented there, 20% still up for grabs, as well as what other candidates would pick. Now, Rivers State, yes, Tinubu 10%, Atiku 15%, Obi 35%. Of course, Kwankwanso unrepresented there. And 40% of Rivers votes still up for grabs, because a certain Nyesom Wike is yet to decide where he will throw his weight on the day of the presidential election. The meetings in London, in Benue, in Rivers, or elsewhere, at the end of all that meeting, a decision has to be taken by Nyesom Wike and his group. They call themselves the Integrity Group, aka G5 governors. Now, we look at the Southeast. Enugu State, Tinubu will pick 10% of the vote, Atiku 15%, Peter Obi 60%, 15% others and undecided. Now, Ebonyi State, Tinubu will pick 15%, Atiku 15%, while Peter Obi will pick 60% of the vote. 5%, of course, undecided, and for other candidates. While in Abia State, 10% of the voters will be rooting for Tinubu. Atiku will pull at least 15% of the votes, while Peter Obi will gather 60% of the votes. 15% of the votes I take that again, Ebonyi. 15% Tinubu, 15% Atiku, 60% will be 10% undecided. Now, Imo, 15% Tinubu, 20% Atiku, 60% Peter Obi, Kwankwanso unrepresented, while 5% will go to, of course, other candidates, as well as those who are yet to decide as of today. Abia, 10% for Tinubu, 15% for Atiku, 60% for Peter Obi, and of course, 15% undecided, and other candidates will also pick from that 15%. Anambra, yes, 5% for Tinubu, 10% for Atiku, 70% will be rooting for Peter Obi, a son of the soil. While Kwankwanso, not represented there, 15% undecided, as well others will pick from that. These are the pictures as of today. 8 weeks is a long time in politics. The politicians, the presidential candidates, they are on the march, they're on the campaign trail. Something may still happen to change these permutations as garnered by the This Day Election Center Reuben, Rufai, and Ayo.
Okay, let me speak to the environment of the exercise. First, these percentages that you are sharing, this percentage, just expect that is going to generate a lot of controversy.
Expectedly.
Already, as you were reeling out the percentages, my phone was
beeping,
was on fire.
Yes.
With people challenging and all of that.
Yes.
But let's make the first point. That one, it's part of the responsibility of the media to lead debate, to set agenda, to generate ideas for public consideration based on its own findings and the efforts that it has made. So nobody should come around and say, oh, this is partisan. Oh, they are biased. They are tilting in this direction.
Oh.
Oftentimes, some of those things just be a parlor talk. The second thing, of course, is that because there are figures here, this percentage here, this percentage there, statisticians, mathematicians, they're likely to raise questions and say, well, why was no explanation given as to exactly how those figures were arrived at and what is the margin of error? If you look at some of those states, the report says certain percentages of persons are still undecided.
Yeah.
Could it be that those voters that are undecided at this moment could, on election day, make up their minds, or before election day, make up their minds and change the calculus that has been presented? But one strong point that you made in the report is about the rule of thumb. How it's possible that this is based on experience, because you were talking about ethnic sentiments, you were talking about financial watch chairs, you are talking about
structure, political structure.
Yeah, you were talking about capacity, support base, and all those are rule of thumb issues.
But they are factors.
Yes, well, there are factors, of course, religion and all of that, but you cannot really measure them with statistics. So these are some of the questions that may be raised. However, the bigger question that has been raised is that there's likely to be a runoff in the 2023 election. INEC itself already drew attention to that when INEC said that they are prepared in the event of a runoff. 90 million ballot papers were supposed to be printed, but I think they said they printed, is it 186 or, 1,000, or is it million, 186 million ballot papers, so that in the event of a runoff, INEC will be able to activate reverse logistics and then make sure, that the country does not hang in the balance. However, even the idea of a runoff is governed by law. Section 134 of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. Section 134 explains how a woman can become president of Nigeria and how there will be need for a runoff in Section 134, subsection 3. For you to be president of Nigeria, you must have the largest number of votes cast. The other condition is that you must have not less than 1/4 of the votes cast in 2/3 of the states, 36 states,
in this case,
and the
24
FCT,
states,
which will be 24. If you look at the analysis that has been done here, the analysis says Abubakar Atiku will win in 21 states. He will get 25% there. Bola Tinubu will win in 20 states. That is, he will get 25% there. Peter Obi and Kwankwanso were told will have insignificant showing in majority of the states. And what Section 134 says is that the other candidate that goes for the runoff is not a person necessarily with the second largest number of votes. You must have majority votes in majority of states, and then you are qualified to be on the ballot for the runoff. And INEC says that they are prepared. But will it be Atiku Abubakar and Bola Tinubu? Is it possible that before now and the election, there could be some disruption and those undecided voters could go one way or the other? But as a basis for discussion, this is interesting. And for Nigerians to know that, yes, a runoff is possible, is provided for
In the Constitution.
In the Constitution. So it's not as if the this day election center is making this up. You know, it's provided for under the law. So for us to know that, look, we can have the presidential election in February next year. If there is no clear winner, then of course it can go to a runoff. I think the Constitution says INEC has about 7 days. And maybe it's because of that they are already prepared for the reverse logistics. So as for your analysis, just be prepared for a lot of controversy.
In fact, I will advise those who are going to get a copy of this day. Keep it.
Yes.
And after February 25, we'll discuss further. But, of course, this can change. 8 weeks is a long time in politics. And so many things can happen thereafter. Rufai.
Definitely. It has to be said. I'm happy to be able to point out the parameters that this is just based on trends. Trend analysis, is different from bare knuckle empiricals. So it's just based on trends, feeling the pulse of the people, reading the trends and reading what society is saying. But for me already in this, there are some interesting trends that are already coming out. The fact that for the very first time, there are trends positing the fact that the Middle Belt states might not go to the hitherto known two top parties is one trend that increasingly we are seeing that is happening. And when you look at Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, and all of that, you're beginning to see that trend. Could this be sustained before the elections? Only time will tell. And please, we are not saying this is what will happen in the elections. We are feeling and positing trends. Today. And trend aggregation might be different based on the assessment of the readers of the trend. Also, another trend I'm seeing is that a lot of battleground holds are still going to remain intact based on the fact that, except in the Northeast, where there are variations in the tickets, in the sense that a party has a running mate from the Northeast and also another presidential candidate from the Northeast. That's why you can see Tinubu trending forward in Borno and Yobe, which we all know will be because of the inroads of Shatima. But the question is, can he aggregate that properly to deliver those numbers? Only time will tell. And also the fact that you see that it's split across, and you're seeing people like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar still doing well in Adamawa, still in the Northeast. But when you look at the trend, it could go here, not there. Also, another trend that I know definitely will change is the number of the undecided voters. I think to a large extent, as we go forward to those 8 weeks, a lot of Nigerians will decide. We will not have a number of undecided voters. But also, one account we are not looking at will be voter apathy. Because of violence, as enunciated by INEC, violence in the Southeast, violence in the North and other parts of the country. And when you look at the voter apathy number, it will definitely feed into the general number. We have 90 million registered voters, they say. The question is, it will be a miracle if we can eke out 50, 60 million people.
No, but the enthusiasm we see in the registration.
Yes.
Comparatively, we are likely to have more voters than previous elections.
Enthusiasm is not election day representation.
That's the mistake people have. It will be carried over
in the last elections, we had close to 80 million registered voters.
Okay.
So there is no time you don't see enthusiasm. It's different from election day, and we will get to see.
Can I just say that? Can I just make one point? And that is that what do we use information like this, projections from the media or polls for candidates and also for voters? I hope, like you mentioned, in terms of the undecided, that this will spur particularly those who haven't voted in previous elections to see that your numbers count. And that is a push to encourage Nigerians to go out and vote. So in terms of if like Dr. Bati has mentioned, there are debates already online now as to how accurate, or this is not what the reality is because of what you see on social media. Again, social media is not the reality of how votes turn out on the actual day if people don't turn out their campaign into actual votes. So I believe this is a useful tool, particularly for new voters or voters who are still undecided, to go out and actually cast their votes.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efene. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.